World of Warcraft, and deeply social. That is one of the 3 pillars Blizzard has laid out for their new housing system in World of Warcraft, a system that in some respects is coming 20 years later than it should, but so far sounds better than I expected it to be. And I'm actually hopeful it might be a fun, exciting way to re-engage with WoW that doesn't involve streamlined, overly easy leveling content or overly competitive Mythic Plus, and a gear grind that is consistent and constant and gets your place within one expansion. But before we get into the pillars and my expectations and hopes for this system, let's talk about just a quick overview of what we learned about what is in housing from their recent blog post. Housing will be instanced, but it will be instanced in 2 distinct neighborhoods. You will have an Alliance neighborhood zone that takes inspiration from Elwynn Forest with touches of Westfall and Duskwood, and a Horde neighborhood inspired by Durotar, its coastline, and Azshara. This concept art depicts what could be the Horde neighborhood, and if it looks anything like this, I'm excited. There's tons of different verticality, there's different size homes, and it's all kind of spread out, and there's a lot of it there. Since their plan is for everyone to have a home and they won't be using things like housing lotteries from Final Fantasy XIV, I'm guessing that it's probably going to be closer to the EverQuest 2 approach of an in-world house location with multi-use instances within those in-zone locations. Basically, click the door, open your own instance, but you have to go to the door kind of thing. And Blizzard, if you're listening to this, I know you're very, very on top of we want quality of life and teleports to everything. Making you actually have to go to the house, go to the door, will be part of that deeply social thing. If people see you in the neighborhood, running around the neighborhood, going to your homes, even if the homes are instanced, that will help a ton with the deeply social part, especially if there's things in the neighborhood like gathering spaces. Just throwing that out there. These homes will also not have any exorbitant costs or maintenance, and your house will remain even if your subscription lapses or is canceled. No decay of your plots, for example. That's a benefit, honestly, to doing instance houses versus in-world houses with limited space. Your entire warband will be able to use your home, so Alliance plus Horde, same with friends and guildmates. There's minimal faction restrictions, with the example they give being you can't buy a house in the Horde zone as a human, but your troll alt can and your human character can use it. But there's another line in here that I want to pull out, and given Blizzard's history, well, it's hard to get too excited because honestly, we're not that far removed from them making millions potentially off of their $90 auction house mount that was dripping with FOMO. But here's what they have to say about monetization with housing. For the state of housing, they say that they want, quote, to be primarily player first and not revenue first. In the same paragraph, they go on to say that there'll be hundreds of decorations and house customizations via in-game rewards, but they will also offer a smaller number of items in the cash shop as well, comparable to transmogs and pets and how they're currently handled in-game. The 3 pillars in housing that Blizzard has talked about so far are boundless self-expression, deeply social, and a long-lasting journey. For the boundless self-expression pillar, we'll be getting a tool set to work with, and one that they say will be, quote, powerful enough that players can surprise us with their creations, but also easy enough for someone with no 3D experience to use. And that actually sounds a whole lot like it could be the kind of the evolution of EverQuest 2's housing system. EverQuest 2 and World of Warcraft launched within a month of each other back in 2004. One was the first MMO of an established IP. The second was the follow-up of the most successful Western MMO at the time by a very large margin. And the untested MMO completely and utterly slaughtered the competition. But one thing EverQuest 2 did better without question was housing. It's an underrated part of MMOs, but tends to work best when it's established as part of the game in the very beginning. More of that when we get to the third and final pillar. In EverQuest 2, you began with little instance apartments with just a few rooms, but you had ways to alter them in dramatic ways and could transform them with fixed spaces. You could change the walls, the floors, the ceilings, and you could fill them with all sorts of furniture and collectibles. Things you created, things you got through quests or achievements, or had others craft for you, or you crafted yourselves. Homes worked as self-expression, places to keep your spoils and show off your achievements, and even as a storage space. It was a way to kind of live in the world, and eventually you'd be able to afford to move to a better apartment or even a larger home. All of these were accessed from different areas across the big cities, doors that led into self-contained instances going from 2 rooms to 3 to 5 to gigantic guild halls, and it was all earned in-game. And that is the bare minimum of what I'm hoping for with Blizzard's housing. But the next pillar, deeply social, that's why I say that housing tends to work best when you do it from the start. Because gameplay loops get ingrained in a game when players continue to play them over and over again. The best example of this I can provide is EverQuest 1. EverQuest 1 eventually got on the housing bandwagon and added personal housing with neighborhoods and plots. For the most part, it never really got any traction. What did get traction was utility, largely guild hall utility, adding in functions to players' guilds. It didn't become the social hub or non-vertical progression that existed in games like EverQuest 2, Star Wars Galaxies, and Ultima Online, which had it from the start, and it was kind of abandoned. Because the gameplay loop is so ingrained that this is how you play the game, housing became a way for basically to enhance that gameplay loop instead of existing as another way to experience the game. And I think it didn't help that devs trying to make housing a bigger thing actually just kind of leaned into, well, hey, you know what? We want you to do this housing thing, so how about we give you this little perk that assists with this other part of the gameplay loop that you're already doing? So really, housing just became utility for EverQuest 1. And that abandonment, well, plays into the third and final pillar, and what I hope does not happen for World of Warcraft. You see, the third pillar is a long-lasting journey. They're building housing specifically to be an evergreen addition to the game. It'll have its own roadmap and reaches across future patches and even expansions without a definite end. And that's actually what EverQuest 2 did as well. Houses got bigger or changed shape, or added different types of materials for walls or flooring. They added new quest item drops or crafting items and features. They gave players more ways to change their homes. The same thing happened in Star Wars Galaxies and Ultima Online. Housing in MMOs may be one of the best features to continuously add content to with an extremely long runway. Your housing items do not become obsolete with the next expansion. And that is something that has been sorely missed in a game like WoW that relies so heavily on vertical raid progression. World of Warcraft has kind of become a really interesting game for me because for the most part now, it's become so kind of streamlined that I tend to only log in to play Battlegrounds, because Battlegrounds for me are just they're a fun thing for that game that's been fun since the very first time I picked it up. And now maybe with this, maybe it'll give me something to do, something that I can jump into World of Warcraft and actually enjoy myself doing things like going out and questing or going out and trying to find things or even maybe crafting, if there are ways that I can take that and turn it into however I can, create things or do things in my home. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm also quite shit at it. I'll be straight up with you. I'm very bad at decorating. So I would like to create a monstrosity. I famously created a home in Enshrouded that was teabagging my friend's house. Well, I won't be able to do that in WoW, and would probably also be against TOS. But hey, maybe I could do some fun stuff in the house. Let us know down in the comment section below. Is this something that you're excited about with World of Warcraft? Do you think it's going to work? Are you cautiously optimistic about how this could be implemented? Or would you rather just jump in queue for your Mythic Plus? My name is Robert Flynn. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.